Hello everyone, Lloyd Moyer here. Today's project, I have another redo, another old bowl that I want to refurbish a little bit. This one is from 2009. It's box elder, and it's really thick in the bottom. It's pretty thick in the wall as well, but which it doesn't really bother me, the thickness of the wall, but the bottom is way too thick. So I'm gonna chuck this one back up and return it and see what happens. So have fun. Thanks for watching. So today's project actually starts with a geometry lesson. I have a center finder, but I'll be moving in a month or so, and it's packed up somewhere and I have no idea where. So I have to find the center. I already have found the center of the base of this bowl without my center finder. So for those of us that don't have a center finder, here's a way to do it. First, I'm going to take a measurement of the width of this base. Just like that. Now to get the radius, I want half of that. So this is, oops, let's do it in inches just because I'm better at that. So this is 5 and, what is that? 5.5, 5 3/4. So the diameter of this base is 5 3/4. So the radius is half of that. Half of 5 3/4 is 2.5 plus half of 3/4, which is 3/8. So that's 2 7/8. So I take my little dividers and I set them, they're already set, to 2 7/8 inches. So once that's done, you go anywhere along the radius of or anywhere around the arc of the base, and you scratch an arc. Then you do it again. And where those two arcs intersect, I actually did 4, but where those arcs intersect, that's your center. So again, you take a compass and figure out the radius of the circle you're trying to find the center of. And then from the outside of the circle, you inscribe 2 arcs. And where those 2 arcs intersect is the center of your circle. All right, that's enough geometry for one day. Let's go to the lathe. I have this marked with the center. I need to turn a foot on this that I can grab in my chuck so that I can turn it around. Now what I have mounted in the lathe already here is a piece of, I think it's Polonia, that I'm going to use as a jam chuck. And I'm just a little bit too big. So I just have to reduce the diameter of this piece. That's probably okay. I think I'll be a little more comfortable if it's just a little smaller. Good. So that's going to be loud and annoying for a minute. Going very slowly here, just because it's, even though I'm between centers, it's not necessarily the most secure hold. That's where my Chuck wants to live. Now, what I'm actually going to do here, I think, is I'm going to get this this foot on here, and then I'm going to turn a recess on the inside and turn it back around so that I can true up and clean up this base. So I don't need this to be too perfect. You can see the difference that time makes in the color of the wood. This is not stained or anything. This is just the natural color of the wood over time. I once read that you want the form of your bowl to be good because fancy grain and pretty colors all fade over time. Well, this bowl is, what did I say, 2009? So in those contravening years, this has just turned yellow and brown. This bowl, when I first made this, my mother decided she wanted it. And it sat in her house for, Well, from 2009 until she passed away, and then it came back to me. And I haven't really done anything with it, even though I knew that it was, I'm not going to say it's inferior, but it's not up to my standards now. Such a pretty day outside. I hope that the sunlight coming through the garage door doesn't mess too much with the camera feed. I'm a little bit low and a little bit slow. I'm being chicken, that's what it is. I'm going to again use my my longer jaws, just because they're this is a pretty deep bowl, so I think it'll be easier to to tighten the chuck down. So now I feel much better about how secure this is on here. And I can jump in here and actually do some reworking. I'm going to start though with getting the base done, so that if anything does happen to it, I can get back onto that foot. I'm just using my my shear scraper. This is box elder, which, as far as you know, in my experience, is always a little bit. It's not the nicest wood. It looks beautiful, but it doesn't work that great. It doesn't cut that well. As you can see, as I'm cutting, it's not really cutting much. It's just this powder coming off. A little bit of tear out there, but it's not horrendous. Coming up to around 1,000 RPMs here. I'm just taking a slow shearing cut towards the middle to try and get a good cut here. Remember that when you get towards the middle, the wood is moving much slower towards the middle. That took care of it. Now we're just going to come up the sides. One of the flaws of this bowl, I think, is that in its original form, it just sort of goes off into nothingness. I find it much more pleasing if the rim, the top part of the bowl, has some sort of interest to it, whether it is a curve back towards the inside or out towards an outside, or some sort of a detail, something, whereas this one just sort of ended, which is something that I'm looking to rectify here, among other things. I think when we're new to turning, certainly new to design, you're happy to have just gotten, to to the top of the bowl without messing up. And so you say, oh, phew, that's done. I'm good. Instead of really paying attention to the form of the bowl. Look at that. Look at all that red. Look, just when, you know, if you have a box elder bowl in your collection that's old and yellow like this, I don't know, just sand it or something. Bring that red back. I think for this bowl, it's just going to have this little lip at the top. I think is going to do quite nicely for this. So I'm going to undercut it. Just a little bit, and then make it into sort of a bead. Yep. That is already a better bowl than it was before. Still have a little bit of a flat spot there, but I think when you know what? There's also just a teensiest little bit of bark right there. Let me get my pencil. I want to mark where the bark is. This is the underside of the bark, I think. And I want to see if it does. So that surrounds that same spot. Let's see if I can take that out without messing everything else up. Could also probably do this with my scraper, my shear scraper. But I do think box elder tends to do better being cut rather than scraped. That's good, and that's about as thin as I would want it in the thin spot. We're going to call that done. So this will get sanded. This is now going to get some goat wax, goat finishing wax. Box elder always pops really nicely when you put the finish on it too, which is fun. You can forgive box elder all the rest of it. It smells bad, doesn't turn very nicely, doesn't give a real nice finish, but man, that color is something else. It is a beautiful day, but I just couldn't see. What I'm trying to do here is look. I basically have one eye looking down the horizon of the outside, and the other eye is looking at where I'm cutting. So I'm getting at least a reasonable idea of where, you know, the kind of cut that I'm getting. Pay attention to the sound too when you're cutting. You can often hear a pitch change when you get thin. Or when you get thick. I get a slightly thicker gouge here because I'm getting a little bit far out from the tool rest. Still very thick down here. Plenty thick. That's better. Okay. Some tear out there, but I don't know that there's much that I can do about that. That'll do. A little bit of a flat spot right here, but the sandpaper will do that. This bowl is about as big as what is practical in my mind. Turned bigger bowls, plenty of them. I have at least one bowl that I think I turned. The last piece that I refurbished was a big ash bowl. It was, again, maybe a little bigger than this, but not quite as deep. But you get much bigger than this bowl, and you can use it for things, and it's great for a centerpiece or something like that. But it's hard to store, which we never really think about. You know, it's not too big to use, but where are you putting it when you're not using it? I have another few bowls in my collection that are old and need refurbishing. So you'll see some more of this kind of thing. I hope you're enjoying it. It's a little nerve-wracking for me, I'm not afraid to say. It's hard to take something that you finished years or decades ago and say, oh, I'm going to redo this and not messing it up. Of course, I'm not finished yet, so I still have time to mess it up, but I think my mama would be happy with this. I know she was happy with it before, but as parents, if you're a parent, you're usually happy with what your kid comes up with creatively. I'd like to think she'd be happy with this as well. Look at that color. I'd like to thank you all for coming on this journey with me, as always. It is a great pleasure for me to know that I have people that enjoy what I do and are interested in what I have to say about this craft. So thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. You make my day every time you do it. We'll see you next time.